Hi, today we're going to go over a core program that I like to teach clients and that I actually do myself. The idea of sitting and doing sit ups, it's no longer the case. So we'll get started right away. So I'm going to start down in line. So instead of doing the traditional old sit ups, which we used to do, what we do now is what we call the McGill curl up. Stuart McGill was a Canadian exercise physiologist who did a lot of research on this, and he found the different exercises, what impact they had on your spine. This is one exercise that's supposed to be excellent. So the idea is just like this. You set up in this position, one leg straight, one leg bent. It doesn't really matter which one. I would suggest maybe switching back and forth as you go. The next thing, you're lying on your back. Real key, chin tuck, very important. Core activate. Arms gently across your chest. What I mean by gently, anybody does it really tight ends up causing the shoulders to curl in. We don't want that. So you're in this position. Make sure the chin tuck is there. We core activate. And all you're going to do is you're basically going to lift your shoulders up and your head comes for the ride. Right here, I'm not curling. I'm just going straight up with the chin tuck. I take a breath in, breath out, breath in, breath out, and return. If you want for the next rep, you can switch your legs. The goal is to continue to do those based on breath only. You don't do it on seconds, you do it on breaths. Okay, that's exercise one. Exercise two, we can try. There's a lot of different ways you can do plank. To be honest with you, I don't love plank because it's somewhat static. But if you think about a push-up is really just a moving plank. So if you're doing push-ups, you're doing plank if you're using good technique. Another way you can do is if you get in a push-up position and hold the position, and then what you can try to do, if you get your feet a little further apart, you just try to bring your hand up and touch your chest and back down, up and down. That was not very good. Up, down, up, down. The goal with that is as you're bringing your hands up, you don't want your trunk moving that much. As silent as possible in your trunk. So it's really just trying to get the arms up and down. You can work on that. That would be exercise two. A third exercise, which I love, we're going to do here. Take a TheraBand against, at home you would use it either in your door or on a doorknob or something, but it needs to be a loop. The key to this exercise is your feet and your shoulders have to be in the same plane. What I mean by that is you don't want this, you don't want any rotation in your pelvis or your shoulders. Your feet have to be straight, they have to be the same level, and they have to be pointing forward. What you're going to do is you're going to grab the band. You want tension in the band to start. You don't want it slack. You're going to bring it to your belly button with your two hands, shoulders relaxed. You can bend your knees slightly, which you've seen me doing. Core activate, and all you're doing is taking the band and moving it straight out away from your body. And then you hold. Take a breath in, take a breath out, and bring it back. What you're trying to prevent, you don't want the band turning you towards the band, all right? So the resistance here, it works your upper extremities, but it really is a big core exercise. As you get better at it, there's a lot of ways you can do variances. I often use, and stay with me, I often use a Bosu. If you don't have one, I suggest getting one. And let me just move things around here a little bit. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll kneel on the Bosu, and I'll do the same exercise. Now you can start with your feet on the ground, makes it a little bit easier. So you bring the band to your belly button and go straight out, hold, and come back. Actually, I'm not perfectly set here. I have one knee in front of the other. So be more like that, and bringing it back. And then, if you want to advance it more, you do it with your feet off the ground and try it. That's obviously more difficult. Now, when you do these, no matter what level you're doing it, you do with the band on your right side, and then you flip around and do the band on the left side, because it works your different obliques and all these different muscles. So that's exercise three. A fourth exercise I love is what we call the suitcase. Now, I use these in my house, right? I don't know how much these weigh, actually. And all you're basically doing is you're taking a weight, but I'm using the water bottle. Can you see me still?
Yeah, just move back a little.
Great. So what you do is you stand next to the water bottle. I'm going to do a squat to go down and pick it up. You got to use good technique to pick it up. I'm bending down. I'm holding it, core activating, and I'm standing using my legs. And the goal is then to just take how many steps you want, holding it. You're preventing it from pulling you over. So I'm just going for a walk with it. Suitcase. Turn. I go back, I try to do 30 steps for each one. Again, the real goal is not to let it pull me over. Okay? It's better than a side plank because it has functional capabilities because we're always lugging things with one arm. Notice both ways, picking up and putting down. I use really good technique. It's hip hinge core activation. You can make it slightly more complicated if you have a small weight at home, especially a kettlebell. So what you can do, you can do the same thing, suitcase. Say I'll do the other side now since I did that side. And what you can do, bend down, you're picking it up, and then you grab the kettlebell and you hold it in the air like this. So you're working on stability with the rotator cuff. And I go for a walk like this. Again, just trying to do 30. If we had the time and the space, I would walk outside with this. Okay, that's called a suitcase with the shoulder component. Can back down, and that's it. So there are your exercises. Just one of many, many, right? We did the McGill curl up. You want to do maybe, when people ask how many to do, it's only based on your technique. If as you're doing it, you're having trouble keeping the core activated, you're having trouble keeping the chin tucked, you're starting to get fatigued, you stop. On the same thing with the push-up hand to chest. Again, that's like a dynamic plank. The band one, again, same idea. If you're having trouble keeping that band going straight out, or if your body's starting to turn, then that's enough repetitions. You remember, you got to do both sides too. So you might want to start out maybe doing 3 to 5 of these each way. And this one here, the suitcase is actually, I wouldn't suggest using a water bottle the first time. It's pretty heavy. I've done these a lot. You might want to start out with just a weight. I mean, even a kettlebell. If I was holding a kettlebell, you can even do that with the suitcase and go for your walks. Okay? So that would, I would say, is a much better core exercise than sitting and just doing sit-ups and all. And the other thing is, I've got one more thing I want to talk about here. Em's my camera woman. So one thing I see a lot of people doing a mistake for the core, is they'll get in here and they'll start doing these leg work, okay? What ends up happening here is people kind of forget what they're trying to do. The goal is to try to give a challenge to your core to keep it stable, right? So I'm laying here. It's like the analogy I use. It's like if I was bench pressing, and I got on the bench, and I was able to lift the bar with no problem, I would want to make it more difficult, so I'd add a plate. If I add the plates, and then when I go to do it, I start doing all this weird stuff, well then that's too heavy, so I wouldn't be doing that much. I bring it down a little bit. Same thing with this. If I'm sitting here and I feel I can advance from just doing the McGill curl up and I want to start getting my legs involved, you got to remember that as I'm moving my legs, all I'm doing is increasing the effort and the difficulty for my core. If as I'm doing this, my back is arching, you got two choices. Either one, correct your form, or it's too hard. A lot of times people get mixed up. They just think it's all about the legs. It's not about the legs. It's about the core. The legs are just the plates you're putting on the bar to do bench pressing. That's all they are. Okay? So give that a shot. I would work on it slowly. Maybe you could probably do some of these every day, but if worse comes to worse, do every other day. Thank you.